Buddy J, no.
Hi, brothers and sisters. Thank you for coming to another Temple 420 Sesh. Got this one down as number 32. I'm here with CraigX Rubin, the founder of Temple 420. We're here to talk about the Bible, have a session here on this great, beautiful Sabbath morning. Would you like to
Amen.
start with a prayer, or would you like me to start with a prayer?
I don't mind. Dear Lord, who is in heaven and lives within us, and who has given us life and everything in it, we appreciate you, we love you, and we uh, ask that you, first, we give thanks for being here today, and then we ask that you help whoever's watching us come to have a closer relationship with you. Amen. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Okay. Um,
How's your week going over there? Are you going through anything interesting?
it's been a challenging 2 weeks. My mom was here a couple weeks ago, but for the last 2 weeks since she left, I think I was like holding it together for the family about our son dying, and I felt very had a not crappy 2 weeks, but a very less productive 2 weeks than I should have. Um, I was having trouble sleeping. I was just, I don't know what the word is, anxious, nervous, and like God comes through every time I need Him. And I finally just said, okay, I'm gonna trust you, God, whatever. And it's all been working out. Uh, but it's been a challenge. I'm just a little bit tight on cash, and so uh, I'm waiting to sell my place, and it closes on the 26th. So I'm flying back to the States. I guess we just let the government know where I'll be and when. So so I'm flying back to the States next week to go sell my house, and that's that's been anxious. What's I don't know. It's been a challenge the last couple weeks. I keep reading the Bible every night to the kids. We're in Paul's letters and the epistles,
Hmm.
and so like I guess home life, everyone's doing well. My daughter and I got a little bit sick for a couple days, little cough, and then Rocio got sick last night.
Oh,
So for some reason, I think my stress has been getting onto the family a little. I don't know if that's true or if it's the weather or whatever, but it's been a challenging 2 weeks. So I'm just glad to be here right now.
that's always a loaded thing. They say you've got a different vibration when you've got that stress, and there are less options to be able to heal. Like your body doesn't heal as fast. It
Hmm.
can be spreadable. So I think you're really right on with that.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking, my daughter and I were talking about that too. We're like, why do you think Rocio got sick? Because Rocio was just like looking at the kids and I the day before, saying, "Oh, you guys always get sick. I've never been sick. You guys have been sick twice in the last 2 years. I've never been sick."
Oh,
And then 12 hours later, she had a fever, was just shivering in bed and everything else, and she was getting. I think she got upset about my what happened was my son is not tall enough to use the stove, so he brings a little stool so he can be taller, and he cooks his own food, right? He's 10 years old, he
yeah.
can use the stove. And he was scrambling some eggs or something, but he left his little stool in front of the oven, and Rocio got very upset because she's a, I don't want to say clean monster, but you know how some people are neater than others.
Right. Yeah.
She's just a very neat person. She's always cleaning, organizing, straightening, and occasionally the kids and I leave something out of place, and she gets very stressed out about it. So I said to Julie, I said, I think, one, it's the combination of us two being sick. And then she let the stress get to her the other day. She was really upset about that freaking stool. And I'm like, I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. But, for some people, different things create different emotions. Oh wow, there's a cool little lizard right over here on the rock. Looks like he has a tuft of hair, like a dinosaur. You know, on his head, like a
Yeah,
crown. I don't know if you can see him. He's tiny. He's like this big over here. I'm gonna see
like
if I
a
can get him.
mohawk or something.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, a mohawk. Oh, he just ran away. I still see him though. Now he looks like a stick. He went onto another stick. Let's see if we can catch his little mohawk in here. Oh no, he's jumping around. Uh, that's the one nice thing about living here in the jungle is that you do see a lot of wildlife. Uh, we had some city people come and sell us something, and they brought a mirror to us because we don't have a car at the moment. And he was a banker, and she was an attorney, and they live in like a fancy, nice neighborhood, but very cramped and tight and expensive because they're in the city.
Yeah,
And so they came to visit us, and they in the pueblos the people are typically much poorer than in the cities. And I don't want to say we're rich or anything, but I think my kids think we're rich because we live in a pueblo. And so clearly we're not rich, but we're one of the richest people in the pueblo. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So my kids have this nice confidence of like growing up in Beverly Hills. And excuse me, and we're all very happy with our house here because when when we first bought it, it was pure jungle, like this right here. You could it took us an hour and a half to walk through like 60 yards of land to
yeah,
get from one end to the other, because it was just jungles and spikes and everything crazy that was cutting us, and it was insane when we first got here. But we've carved out this little spot for ourselves, and we all feel real happy to be here. And so I don't want to say we're proud, but we take pride in the house. You know, even though we still have like a little Mayan cabana
yeah,
uh, that we sleep in, it still is. Uh, it's nice, you know. For us, we feel real happy and content. So this lawyer and the banker came to sell us their mirror, and they were a little nervous coming out to the pueblos, like they were going to get robbed or something. You know, like, ooh, we're going to dangerous territory. But I guess they had our Facebook page. They came together. They brought their kids, and they brought us the mirror, and everything went cool. And they're like, "Oh, we didn't know city people lived out here. We were. Are you nervous? Are you? Is there too many bugs? Are there animals? Are there snakes?" And I was just thinking about them as I killed 2 tarantulas last night
oh
and a
wow,
scorpion last week, because that was like their biggest concern. Are there snakes and bugs and things that can kill you there? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I said, but we lived in the city. I said, this whole city, Merida, the capital city of the Yucatan, was it's built in a jungle. And, you know, when I lived here in the late 80s, early 90s, they had the city was so much smaller. It was like 1/6 the size it is now.
yeah,
And when someone would move out or a house was abandoned, even in the middle of the city, within a year, 2 years, the roofs start to collapse, trees start to grow on top of the roofs, you know, because leaves will build up in the corner, it creates a little dirt, and then a seed will go there. And then the next thing you know, your house becomes a ruin, like the ancient Mayan ruins, because the jungle is very harsh here. I've told you about our seasons, right?
yeah, yeah.
We have a dry
Thank
season
you.
and a wet season. So, anyways, the banker and the lawyer came out. They sold us the mirror, and they're like, "Can we see your property? Can we look around?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." And so we walked them around, and I got this sense of, "Oh my God, look at all the freedom and space you have out here." And they said, "Well, is it dangerous in the pueblo?" And we're like, "No, our kids have great friends. We like our neighbors. You know, we feel real comfortable in the village." And then their next concern, because the people like back in the 80s and 90s, I think I've told you this, right?
Maybe.
How people were very prejudiced. Oh, I guess I should have said what I was
Oh
going to
yeah,
say. We're very prejudiced against the Mayans years ago.
yeah,
And not for, and it was funny because I watched this video. I think it was Sean Ryan, the guy, the military guy, who was interviewing some special forces dude from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how we went invisible, how you could smell the North Vietnamese before we saw them. We could smell them, and that they could smell us. He said, so I had to stop before we went out into the field. We stopped using soap for 3 days. We started eating North Vietnamese food so that if we took a dump out there, they wouldn't know it was Americans, because you could tell the difference between American poop and North Vietnamese poop. So he was just talking about blending in, how they smell differently, they eat different foods. And I think, 30 years ago, especially 40 years ago for sure, when I was here, the Mayan villages were unelectrified. They didn't have running water per se in all of the places. They mostly had well water that you had to fill up by hand. And so the people smelled different, and they spoke a different language. And so there was like literally two different cultures, and there was a lot of prejudice against the Mayans. Well, in the eyes of some rich Mexicans, they still view like things haven't changed that much. Like I think the people that came over and sold us the mirror were in their late 30s, early 40s. And so when they were kids, that's what it was like out here in the villages and the relations between the Mexicans and the Mayans. Where now, with electricity, water, and the internet, the Mayans mostly all speak Spanish now. They have similar culture, knowledge, amenities as the Mexicans have. So their lives aren't as different as they used to be. So the kids are growing up more Mexican than Mayan in some of these villages. And so these people, one, were scared of the people, and then they were scared of the snakes and this and that. And I said, listen, I lived in the city, where the jungle takes over. Excuse me. The jungle takes over, if you don't take care of your place so quickly. I said, I had snakes and scorpions and tarantulas in the city too. I said, not as many. I said, but they were there. And they got into the house sometimes, depending on the season, or into between the screen door and the door of the house. And I said, so yeah, I said, we see them, we have them. I said, but for the most part, it's live and let live out here. You don't fear for your life. You have to obviously be more cautious and check your shoes before you put them on. Like one time, I checked my shoes every morning. Every morning. One time, I was just in a rush and I didn't check my shoe, and I put my shoe on with no socks too, and I'm like, I crunch up against some cellophane. It felt like in my shoe. And I'm like, what did these kids put in my shoe? And then I bang it out, and it's a giant freaking tarantula, and I just put my toes right up against it. And yeah, it was a little. I was like, oh. So that's. And the kids are like, you didn't check. You always tell us check our shoes every time before we put them on. I said, I know. I said, I always do too. I even did in the city. Like when I lived here, 40 years ago, I went back
Yeah.
to LA, and I still had the habit of checking my shoes every time before I put them on to make sure nothing had crawled in there.
Especially with things like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So anyway, so the bottom line was, I think the people were very interested in village life, knowing that they could get so much more for their money as compared to city life.
We see that a
And
bit here too. Almost like the movies say they call them city slickers. They only know the city.
right, well, and some people feel afraid to be away from what they don't know. Like you said, it's cheaper to buy some land out in the middle of nowhere, maybe 10 miles out of the city,
Right.
uh, and you get a little more for your money. You get more land, more house. But some people are afraid to be too far from a gas station, or too far from a restaurant, or too far from a supermarket. And it's the same here in Mexico. There's a difference between rural people and city people.
Yeah. Seen a big difference with that, especially since we have such a big metro in the area. There's a lot of people that have always been in city life and then they come out to the country and they find it really weird to visualize things.
Yeah, it is different. It is for sure. And I grew up in the city, so I'm not sure how I came to be such a a lover of being in the rural, quiet spaces. I think it was probably from visiting the natives in the Grand Canyon.
Well, especially if you were in that LA area.
Have
LA
you heard
sounds
of Havis? Go ahead.
so wild and all that.
I was in the middle of it, bro. I grew up a city slicker.
So always seeing
and
people, always people next door, people everywhere.
I could hear my neighbors like having fights or arguments. Even in Beverly Hills, the houses were close enough together that you could hear the other guys, the other parents arguing or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were in the flats. We weren't up in the hills of Beverly Hills where the homes are a little bit farther apart.
Yeah.
But still, it was a nice neighborhood, and you could hear your freaking neighbors. There was no privacy.
Yeah, because I still freak out. I'm kind of in the rural area now, so we could have better schools, but I still step out on the back porch and see 5 houses around me. And that's
Right.
kind of makes me nervous because I used to live out where we all had 5 acres, and I would look and I could see 3 neighbors, but they were all in the distance. They were far away and they were all doing their own thing. So it's been
Now,
different.
how long have you lived in the house you're in right now?
This one since 2016, so about 9 years here at this location.
Yeah, because that's the only house of yours I've ever visited.
Yeah.
And is that considered rural, or are you city now? Or are you just like right on the border between?
It's really rural. It's just outside of the city. It's kind of a smaller city over here because then if you go just an exit over, it's all country and everybody has acreage and big land and stuff like that.
The next exit on the freeway.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I thought because I've driven through your neighborhood and I feel like it's kind of a combination between city and rural.
Yeah. This one's been growing really fast, really quickly.
I could
But
tell.
we've also got the thing in Kansas City. I don't know if you know much about Kansas City, but we've got such a big metro because so many things happen in the city. And then everybody's like, we want a little bit out of the city. We want a little bit out of the city. We want a little bit out of the city. And it keeps growing and growing. And it's kind of got to this area now.
To where you are.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called urban sprawl, and that was like the city of Merida. I moved here in 89, 90, 92, like in that period. There were 200,000 people in Merida. Now, 40 years later, there's 1,200,000.
Wow. So,
Yeah, I mean the growth and it has been incredible. And so we live in one of these little pueblos. And when I was in the city of Merida, I was in a neighborhood called Santiago, which originally was a separate pueblo. It has its own church, its own market. But now, and it was walking distance to downtown. It was like the closest pueblo to downtown Merida. But even back then, it was starting to be part of the Centro, part of downtown Merida. And there was places like Itzimna, which was another mile and a half north, and Chuburna, which was maybe 2 miles north. And those were considered like pueblos, like the little village I live in, because to get to there from downtown, and I didn't have a car back then either, you'd have to walk through jungle. Like our pueblo is 3 miles through jungle to the city, and so maybe that's to downtown. So maybe like uh, 2.5 miles, 2 miles away, there's still houses. But for that last 2 miles, you're just driving through jungle, and there's nothing but trees on the side of you as you pass it by. It's just trees and trees and trees. And
wow.
you feel like you're separate. But I think eventually uh, our city of Motul is going to grow also. They're looking at putting an airport in here, bringing a Walmart here. So as the town grows, it will, um, it'll be like Merida. It'll all these little pueblos that we live in will eventually become part of the city.
That's a pretty good size then if you say they're over a million, like 1.25 million or so.
Oh, and Merida, it's
Yeah.
incredible. It's I mean, compared to when I first moved here 40 years ago to now. Uh, it's such a cosmopolitan city. We have world class restaurants now. We have performance artists that come, world class, top headlining bands and stuff like that come and perform here in the city. Uh, there's so much cool stuff to do. It's considered one of the top 10 safest cities in the world, and it's attracting both Mexicans and foreigners to come and move here. The weather's good. It's much less expensive than a lot of other parts in Mexico, and a lot less expensive than the USA. So you see families coming from Canada, US, and from Mexico all moving here to the Yucatan.
That's a good size because really Kansas City proper itself is just
Mm-hmm.
500,000. We've got the metro around it, which ends up being 2.25 million, but the Kansas City itself is less than Madrid, than that city down there. Then, but
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And it's
that's it.
grown, and I'm sure Kansas City was way bigger than it back 40 years ago, too. When we were at 200,000, you guys were probably at 400,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, so anyways, it's interesting. The world's changing and uh growing, and all this craziness with AI coming in and crap. Do you know who Nick Fuentes is?
yes, yeah.
He's been blowing up recently.
I haven't seen what as of recently.
Um, because he's touching on subjects that other people don't want to touch, and he's very articulate. He has a lot of passion, and his stuff keeps going viral. It's interesting. I kind of like the guy a lot. I didn't like him years ago. He seemed like, oh, he's just kind of a young a-hole intentionally to get attention. But I think he was just provocative and a little more reckless and arrogant when he was younger. Now he's like 23 or 24, and he has become more mature, better at speaking about some of the issues and problems of the world out there. And so it's just nice to hear him uh, grow as a podcaster person. But he's talking about interesting subject matter, and I think one of the most controversial thing is he's not anti-Jewish, but he's tired of Israel having so much influence in our country. And he points out certain things like about the Jewish people, how there's so many of us in banking and the media, and how you can't talk about, oh, the Jews control Hollywood or the Jews control media, because they say it's racist or anti-Semitic to say that. But even as a Jewish person growing up in LA, we used to say, yeah, we control the media. I never knew about banking, but having grown, I'm sure the bankers were in New York, but having grown up in LA, that was like a certain amount of Jewish pride was like, yeah, we have such a huge influence in the media. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Got three in a row there, huh?
Yeah,
Did you hit mute?
I tried.
Okay, I didn't hear you anyways, but I just thought, man, I'm such a loud sneezer. Yours were so quiet. All right, we should talk about the Bible here since we are a Bible study temple.
Excellent.
What have you been reading this week?
Back and forth. I'm in Matthew 26
Mm-hmm.
and 25 generally. Most of that came from reading that through Bible study on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we also went through one of the parshas with that Jewish temple that I went through and go through sometimes on Tuesday, which was pretty.
Mm-hmm. And so, but Matthew wouldn't be part of the parsha. So, which was
Right.
the part of the parsha that you were reading?
It was Parsha. What was it? Parsha Ekev, which was Deuteronomy 7:12 through 11:25.
And what was going on there in Deuteronomy?
It was going through and talking about circumcising the heart and treating all your commandments with equal importance, as well as the conditional blessings that were put in there with that.
Um, Interesting. You know what's so funny? I always thought Deuteronomy was so boring, and now I'm finding Deuteronomy and Leviticus to be more interesting.
Yeah,
Some
definitely.
some of there's like some parts of Exodus where they start talking about building the temple
Right.
or the tent, the mobile temple. What was that called?
Yeah. Forget what they refer to that as.
Yeah, for some reason I do too. Uh, but God was dwelling with them, but He lived in the tent, and so like for 2 or 3 or 4 chapters, it's nothing but like, and the curtain is made of silk with holes in it every so and so you can put the rod through it, and it must be silver ringlets and gold uh, curtain rods, and you know, acacia wood covered in this, and so they go into such detail how to build the temple, and then how to build the entrance towards the temple, so that if you don't come through the narrow gate or the narrow path, then you're trying to sneak in. But if you go through the narrow path, that then you're an invited guest. And so um, it talks about how um, there's only like a narrow way to God, and anyone else who tries to come in some other way is a thief or a criminal or something sneaking in.
Right. Yeah.
And so I guess there's some parallel to this. It's all supposed to have some kind of prophetic reference to the Messiah.
Right.
You know, like only through him, the narrow gate, can we find the grace to get to heaven and have that relationship. Not relationship, but uh, maybe it's a relationship, I guess, is through him and recognizing the Messiah. Because all the scriptures, the Old Testament was written to make us prepared for when he arrives. And that's what he was so upset about with the Jews, that he's like, you can read the signs in the skies to know what the weather's going to be, but you can't read the signs of the times to know when your Messiah is coming. And that was the whole point of the scriptures. Uh, so, I don't know. I love the Bible. So, anyways, Matthew 20. So you're right before the murder, and then 25 and 26. Is that the resurrection,
I believe
or is that part of the
it's
murder too?
right talking about it. Yeah, 26 is where he was talking about the plot to kill him, and then go into where Judas betrays Jesus, and they enjoy the Passover and the Lord's Supper.
Yeah. So I know Matthew 24 is like the when is you were coming back.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
They talk.
still in Corinthians with the kids.
Oh yeah. How's that going?
It's going okay. Paul's an interesting writer, and uh, he's always insightful about the Old Testament too, because they in every one of the letter, every chapter is a quote from the Old Testament.
Nice. That's a pretty cool way to do
Um,
it.
yeah, I just coughed, so I hit mute for a second.
No worries.
Um, let's see. Yeah, so how's it going? It's going good. It's interesting. We're all listening, but it's interesting how he sets it up, how he's giving them the gifts of the Spirit, and but they have to, you know, diligently follow the word and build community, and giving them lessons like, hey, listen, if someone's messing up in the community, you need to confront them. Talks about giving non-grudgingly, like instead of demanding. Like, I think the church is maturing more. At first, the early people were expected to sell all their possessions and kind of join the church. Oh, and so that's what they're talking about, how they can raise money for the church to take care of their own needs and take care of needs outside the other community. And he's saying, listen, don't, he says, give what you can, give what's in your heart, give what you know God tells you to give, and build this community. You know, obviously it takes resources to build the community. He said, but don't do it begrudgingly. I think non-grudgingly, begrudgingly. I don't remember what the word was. He said, give what's in your heart and give what you feel like God's telling you to give. And I thought, okay, that was interesting. You know how there's always like one or two things that stick out to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was last night. We were in the second letter to the Corinthians, I think chapters 9, 10, and 11. And so one of the things in there was talking about giving gifts to the church and then God giving gifts to the people.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Well,
and I haven't been reading the Bible outside of reading to the kids every night. Um, I haven't been doing my own independent study or anything.
see, I haven't been too good at that. We're having a prayer week, so we're working on those. Actually, 3 prayer weeks. So we're coming together as the church that I go to.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us 21 days of prayer, and every day we're together, coming together to pray for one of the subjects in there and going through all that. So that's been kind of a neat thing.
Nice. We're at our. I go to the Calvary Church here in the local Calvary Church. There are some Florida people that came here and started a church, and so that's our Sunday service with the kids. And we're doing more community outreach, feeding people and things like that. So Wednesday night we invited all these people to come have a free meal, and I think only one lady showed up, but she was super happy and excited to be there. So that was nice. And our church is going to try and do more outreach the next couple weeks or months. So that's why I thought it would be good to connect with that guy regarding that. I'll even mention his app here, soapboxsuperapp.com, um, for kind of the organization and the computing power to be more effective as a church.
Yeah, looks really neat. Looks like even individual people who want to learn more about the Bible can join it for free and kind of work on their Bible study. And then they can find like their gifts of the Spirit and then
Mm-hmm.
find churches to work with and help with and volunteer. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature too.
Yeah, maybe we can post if there are some people listening. I know we were talking about it before we started about his app. Maybe we could post Alan's LinkedIn page or something in the description, so if people want to go check out his church app, they can.
That would be good. Or I could post directly to that page too and then go on there and try it out. But there's a free level, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, but he showed me that feature too, how church members could then come in and check out your specific church's kind of posted information and things like that to build more community instead of using like 5 different apps, uh, to use his one app to get all the same stuff accomplished.
That would be really the good thing too, is all these other apps. That's what gets weird with kind of managing it. I throw most of this stuff on YouTube and have a tool that splits it up into clips to get people interested and check it
Mm-hmm.
out. But then
Are
it's
you are you using one of those to make our clips, or are you making them by hand?
I'm using one of those to make our clips. I've got Steve, who's been on here, donated if I would help him with his clips and get his clips out, then he would let
Mm-hmm.
me use his AI and get some clips. So I've been throwing these and this, that, and then it'll let me post those on several social media, but it's really weird on how it does X and TikTok. So I just automatically have it cut them up and throw them on YouTube, which has been
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Well, YouTube, I think, is the biggest television network in the world at this point.
Absolutely. I think
Buenos
that's where we
dias. ¿Cómo estás, vecino? Pásale. Here comes my neighbor.
I say got a neighbor over there. I don't see him yet.
You'll see him soon. This is my neighbor Jorge Carlos,
Oh
and
yes.
we do Bible study together all the time.
That's neat.
He comes over with his wife, and we read the Bible study. They're nice Christians. They're my neighbors. Can you see him yet?
Oh yeah, I start seeing the silhouette there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's rocking his way over here. ¿Está con los chivos? Okay. Está en mi estudio de la Biblia. Estoy estudiando la Biblia ahorita en el internet. Yeah, en el Face. Here, puede decir saludos.
Buenos días, patrón.
Buenos días. Okay, so estoy con mi socio Chapin. Chapin, this is Jorge Carlos. Jorge Carlos Chapin.
Sí.
He's looking at your picture right now, Chapin.
Hey.
He's waving. Él está diciendo saludos.
Ándale, gracias.
He said, "Andale, gracias," which is, "Oh yeah, thank you." So that's the one nice thing about living in this little Mayan village is that we actually have neighbors that come visit us. ¿Quiere un cafecito?
No, hermano, gracias.
No, está bien. Okay.
Acábale.
No tengo más. Y
Acábale.
me recuerdo ahorita. Es la última. Necesito comprar más en Soriana. Anyway, I'm gonna, I don't want to be rude to my neighbor here that he passed by to visit me. I'm gonna go chat with him. Are you gonna wrap it up, or are you gonna keep going without me?
Yeah, I could wrap it up. I don't know much more really to present or talk about. So
Much more what?
I say I don't really know much more to present out there or talk about to give anybody. So definitely can wrap it up.
And that's what I liked about that app thing. How you were able to put in a couple ideas, like put in one theme, and the AI helps you craft the outline or the notes for your sermon, and even gives you those examples from the outside world, non-biblical examples too, to reinforce the Bible stories. That's actually a great feature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call it cheating, but it feels like I mean, it's the kind of thing that all of a sudden, oh, I don't have anything to talk about. Oh, I plug in a subject matter, and okay, here's an outline. We could go over that, blah blah blah, and have kind of like a message, a themed message, rather than what we do, which is just random Bible talks and
Yeah,
conversation.
I thought about
go ahead.
Stuff because just brainstorming and bringing some subjects that can talk about, but I'm usually not very good on that, and the AI helps so much better with brainstorming. So that's a handy one.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead. Why don't you say a prayer to get us out of here then, and we'll say goodbye, and I'll pay attention to my neighbor for a few minutes.
Sounds good. Dear Almighty God, thank you for bringing us together to speak about your word and do things in your name. Thank you for keeping us safe and bringing us all together on your word. Help those that are watching be inspired to follow your word and seek out and learn things as well. And we appreciate what you've bringing us and helping us through the week, and help those through the upcoming week, comfort them in the challenges that they may have and the illnesses they may have. Help them to know that you are helping through all these times. Amen.
All right. Well, listen, you have a great day. I'm so glad to be able to catch up with you. I apologize for missing the last couple of weeks. I was feeling a little
No, it's wild out there.
Mentally under the weather, not physically. But it's interesting how that mental under the weather turns into a physical manifestation eventually if you don't deal with it.
Absolutely, it does. Got to watch for that.
Yeah, so I should have showed up even though I was feeling sorry for myself. Excuse me. Anyway, I'm going to go take care of myself and be with my neighbor. God bless you, and we will talk soon.
God bless. Thanks for
coming. All right, bye.
Take care. Bye. Thank you all for attending. Go check out temple420.org. I will also link in the bottom there if you're interested in checking out that tool that we were talking about. I will throw it in the links, and may everybody have a blessed week. Feel free to comment on our YouTube. We follow up with those prayer requests, anything you've got there. If you've got any questions, you've got anything to bring, you want to know more about Temple 420, you want to know more about the Bible, we always welcome it. Thank you for coming by, and God bless. Take care.